So I know that right now I am talking with the people.
Hold on just a second. I don't know. Oh, we're good? Never mind. Go ahead.
So, is this being videotaped or not really?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm supposed to stand there?
Yes.
Yes. It would be nice so we can actually see what you look like.
Fine. Okay. Well, good afternoon. Thanks, everybody. I know and I understand that I am dealing with people who want to be here and are dedicated. So I appreciate you being here this afternoon. So my name is Dave Botts. I'm the Senior Director of Cyber and Critical Infrastructure Protection at Edison Electric Institute. This is my handle. Feel free to follow me on the Twitter. Today I am pleased to talk with you about a program called Cyber Mutual Assistance. Now, Cyber Mutual Assistance is a program that is sponsored by the Electricity Subsector Coordinating Council. Now, an extremely reasonable question on your part is, gosh, Dave, that sounds fine. Please to explain, what is the Electricity Subsector Coordinating Council? Very fair question. This is not that council. This is a different council. Okay. So I have one more movie reference, and we'll see who can find it. All right. But this is a little bit of background about what is the Electricity Subsector Coordinating Council. Fundamentally, this is the primary liaison between the electric industry across the United States and senior government counterparts. So think of executives, basically CEOs from utility companies from across the United States, meeting with and interacting with their government counterparts. So folks from the Department of Energy, the Department of Homeland Security primarily, but in addition, other representatives from other agencies in the United States government, to include the Department of Defense, occasionally FBI, occasionally NSA, other interesting agencies in the U.S. government. If there is a theme for the Electricity Subsector Coordinating Council, it is unity of effort and unity of message to deal with a number of policy issues, including but not limited to things like severe natural catastrophic events like hurricanes. We've all seen hurricanes. We understand what hurricanes can do. This is a picture of Hurricane Felix. You know, it's a little bit older than Superstorm Sandy, but it's quite incredible the power of Mother Nature. Now, the Electricity Subsector Coordinating Council has been used to help the industry and help the government coordinate restoration of major natural catastrophes such as ice storms, hurricanes, and other events where major elements of the infrastructure, the electric infrastructure, is on the ground due to natural events. They can include floods, wildfires, etc. Primarily, the ESCC is used for large-scale, either multi-state or multi-region, when you think about in the United States, multi-region events, significant events. So this is a little bit of a depiction of what I'll call traditional mutual assistance. Within the electricity sector, there is a legacy of mutual assistance, basically a 100-year history of electric companies traveling across the United States to affected areas to help them restore their system, restore service to customers. A long and glorious history of doing these things. You know, we've got line trucks and happy crews and restoration activities. So we get that. We understand mutual assistance. And in North America, we have a fabulous record of these activities. But I'd like to talk about cyber mutual assistance and the origin story. It all started in November of 2015, where an organization called the North American Electric Reliability Corporation which is charged with the development of mandatory and enforceable standards for it's called the bulk electric system within the United States. Basically, think of high voltage, 100,000 volts and up. So the large transmission lines that you see along the highway, that's part of the bulk electric system. Major generation, so nuclear stations, wind towers, those are part of the bulk electric system. So the North American Electric Reliability Corporation is charged with the development of mandatory and enforceable standards for operators of the bulk electric system. This group, so the long word is North American Electric Reliability Corporation. The acronym is NERC. NERC is what they have done for the last, this last November was 8 years. Every 2 years they run a major drill event. In 2015, they had a major drill in November of 2015 that brought together literally hundreds of utilities and thousands of utility workers from across the United States and Canada running through a test scenario. In their test scenario, there were all kinds of terrible things happening. Again, in scenario, there were active shooters, there were explosions, there was malware. It was a big catastrophe, right? It was terrible in terms of exercise length. Now, in terms of the exercise, with respect to things like explosions, substations getting blown up, transformers getting blown up.
Signs getting knocked off.
Signs getting knocked off. We have mutual assistance there. We've covered those things. So we've got, hey, you know what? In terms of stuff getting blown up, we have a plan for that. We do. It's awesome. We've got mutual assistance. We've got people who are absolutely ready and willing to get into trucks, hang conductor, do all kinds of things. However, when it comes to the cyber, there was not an analog. That did not exist in November of 2015. In December of 2015, another thing happened. And that thing was unfortunately the first of a series, but the first attack against Ukrainian electric infrastructure in December of 2015. Now, the attack was made manifest in December. However, it's important to note that the attackers started the attack approximately 6 to 9 months before December. And amongst other means, they use phishing attacks that included malicious Word docs with macros that allowed the attackers into the system where they sat and they listened and they learned for 6 to 9 months before launching the attack in December of 2015 that using 3 different utilities' own sets of infrastructure did things like disconnect substations from the network, distribution substations. So this was an extremely highly coordinated attack that affected 3 different utilities in the Ukraine. Now, a story that most folks don't know is that there were actually 4 utilities that were attacked, but 1 of the 4 detected it and repelled it. 3 of the 4 did not detect it and were victims. Is there a lesson here? One of the lessons might be, why didn't or what prevented the 1 utility that detected the attack from telling their colleagues, hey, be aware, there's some bad things going on. Anyway, so I'll talk about that a little bit. So following these 2 events, November of 2015, December of 2015, the ESCC got together again in a meeting much like this, not quite like this, almost like this, in a meeting like this to say, hey, we need to do something different. We need to have a program of cyber mutual assistance. Let's do that. Cyber mutual assistance, much like traditional mutual assistance, is about providing surge capacity to help a utility who may be unable to deliver electricity or power due to a cyber attack. That is the point of cyber mutual assistance. As a general matter, a lot of companies, maybe your company, but electric companies, just like a lot of other companies, they have sort of enough capacity to deal with the day-to-day stuff, but in the face of a major wide-scale attack, they may need resources that they don't have ready access to. The Cyber Mutual Assistance Program is designed to help those utilities have access to that surge capacity. The program is designed to allow for not only reactive following an attack, but also proactive. There's an example in 2016 when utility companies were notified of a set of threats related to the Internet of Things. So this notification started in August, and a bunch of the utilities got together and started talking about the Internet of Things, a new set of risks that were made aware to the U.S. government. The U.S. government briefed utilities about a set of risks associated with the Internet of Things. The utilities took actions to share information and try to review their systems. And following notification in August of 2016, something happened in October of 2016. Who can remember what happened? That's right, it was the Mirai botnet on October 21 of 2016 that took down vast parts of the Internet. The good news is that the utilities heard about this risk, took some proactive activity, and the Mirai attack did not affect utility operations in October. So that was good. So what is the major goal of cyber mutual assistance? It is all about assisting utilities do their essential mission, which is the delivery of power to their customers. It's not about asking for help for my billing system. Oh, my billing system's down, I need a lot of help. It's not about, oh, my web server's down, I need a lot of help. That's not what it's about. It is about the delivery of their essential services, which is energy, to the customers that they are privileged to serve. Now, in the event of a cyber attack against a utility, let me talk about what is going to not be the first thing to happen. The first thing to happen is not going to be sending bucket trucks, because bucket trucks are a terrible way of sending personnel from one location to another, especially to work on cybersecurity events, right? It doesn't make sense. Probably, really, the first thing that will happen in the event of a cyber emergency is people will get on the phone and start talking. Sharing information, sharing indicators of compromise, sharing best practices, what's worked, what's not worked, etc. Well, why would they do that? I mean, what is the basis for doing that kind of sharing? The Cyber Mutual Assistance Program is built on 3 legs. The first leg is a non-disclosure agreement. I don't know about your company or your organization. Utilities tend to be relatively reluctant to share openly vulnerabilities, failures, problems, challenges, right? There's a reluctance to do this sort of thing. But utilities that are part of the Cyber Mutual Assistance Program, the single barrier to entry is signing a non-disclosure agreement. That says, by signing this agreement, I agree contractually, I will bind myself that I will not reveal sensitive information that I learn as being part of this program externally to external parties. I'm not going to blog about it, I'm not going to call CNN, I'm not going to do any of those things. I am going to protect the information that I receive, and the other counterparties are going to protect the information that I would give. Right? Makes sense. With a non-disclosure agreement, utility personnel can have what I'll call adult discussions about what really happened. And they can be frank with each other and really talk about what happened. Next issue, the money. Cyber mutual assistance is not charity, nor is it a profit center. We talked about conventional mutual assistance. In conventional mutual assistance, where bucket trucks are driven across the United States, or from Canada into the United States, you know what? When a company calls for traditional mutual assistance and says, "Listen, I need 100 or 200 or 500 or 1,000 personnel, and I need these many bucket trucks and this much conductor. This is what I need." They are on the hook to pay the cost of those things. They're on the hook to pay the labor costs, the transportation costs, the hotel costs, the food costs, the cleaning costs. They're on the hook to pay for the direct cost of those things. Right? It makes sense. I mean, this is not charity. So much like traditional mutual assistance, cyber mutual assistance, in the event that personnel or equipment are shared between utilities, there's an expectation that the receiving utility is going to pay the cost of those personnel, that equipment. Makes sense. So the third leg of the stool that cyber mutual assistance is built upon is the notion that, think of it as a Good Samaritan clause. In the event that I am asked to go help another utility, and I help and I try and do things, and the assistance that I provide doesn't solve a problem. By signing the non-disclosure agreement, part of that is essentially is that unless people act with gross negligence or deliberate malfeasance, they are not going to be subject to lawsuit. So it's a Good Samaritan law. So I don't have to be nervous about helping in the event that things go sideways. I'm not going to get sued. Cyber mutual assistance. Oh, okay. One shot of the puppies. Just one. No cats. Puppies. Cyber mutual assistance is voluntary. So in the event that a utility signs the non-disclosure agreement, they are not under an affirmative obligation to provide help, even if asked for. So it's voluntary. Just like conventional mutual assistance, that is also voluntary, which is awesome. But there's been a long history and demonstration that utilities, as a general matter, are interested and willing, and I would say even eager to help each other out. That's just part of the culture. Now, there has been a development. This is a depiction of, that's right, natural gas. So in June of 2017, the Electricity Subsector Coordinating Council, in response to numerous requests from natural gas utilities, expanded the scope of cyber mutual assistance to include natural gas utilities. And that makes a lot of sense when we think about generation in today's world. Natural gas has grown dramatically as a primary fuel source for generation in the United States. Okay, now, I do not want to be accused of singing you a song and saying that every day there are only blue and white puffy clouds and there's unicorns and rainbows and everything is wonderful all the time. Because that would not be accurate. That would not be true. Okay, so life is not just filled with puffy clouds and blue skies and unicorns. There's actually very challenging problems that we need to recognize and understand. So what are the problems? Number one, in the event of a cyber emergency affecting utility operations, and if utility A asks for help from utility B, there may be a reluctance to literally send resources from one place to another, because that utility is going to be asking themselves the question, which is a very reasonable question, am I next? Right? Am I next? Another issue is that utilities, I think like most organizations, are probably not very keen on the idea of humans who they've never seen before in their life showing up and getting up, going into their control room and clacking away on the keyboard. This is a keyboard. So utilities are probably not very keen on that idea. This is understood. Even given that, we believe that there is opportunities for those who would wish to donate resources, a variety of resources, anywhere from, there's all kinds of different skill sets, from malware analysts, forensics analysts, even to just basic break-fix PC restoration activities in the event that a large number of PCs get flattened or bricked by malware. Have we seen this happen in other parts of the world? Yes, we have. There may well be a need for a utility to call for those types of resources. So, right now today, cyber mutual assistance by the numbers. Right now today, there are 141 utilities that are part of cyber mutual assistance. This represents, in the United States, 80% of customer meters are served by a utility who's participating in cyber mutual assistance. And it includes all of these kinds of utilities, so cooperatives, public power, regional transmission operators, independent system operators, investor-owned utilities, and Canadian Utilities A, because Canada is a huge and important part of the North American electric grid. So, this concludes my prepared remarks, but I am delighted to entertain any questions that you have.